Bonjour les amis, bienvenue. Thank you for joining me. I know it's a little early for some of you, but I'm trying to do this before the rain returns. I have stayed in the Luxembourg Gardens. You can see the Senate, the beautiful Senate building in front of us, and the gardens as well. It's a very busy day. Heritage Days is happening today, tomorrow, so a lot of people have come here to line up to visit the Senate building I've just shown you on the left, as well as over there, the greenhouses of the Luxembourg Gardens, where I was this morning. I was lucky to get in. Bonjour et bienvenue. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a small group because a lot of people are probably still sleeping on a Saturday. But I figured we'd have fun anyway, right? And then our friends can watch the replay later when they get up. So I'm going to start walking, trying to bring you some good Parisian vibes, and there are plenty in the magnificent Luxembourg Garden, as you know. I'm going to pause for a minute in front of this lady. Hi, you're watching the Tour de France. Too many things to watch, too little time, eh? Here is Marie de Medici. I mentioned her name when we were in Rue Mouffetard earlier this week when we stopped by that fountain. Remember when I told you she had built an aqueduct to bring water to the beautiful palace that was in front of us a few seconds ago? And Marie de Medici was the queen who designed this palace. It reminded her of Florence, where she grew up, and she built this palace at the very beginning of the 17th century. She is one of 20 queens that are represented in the gardens. You can see a couple more ahead of me on the left. 20 queens, 20 influential French queens that were added here, their statues in the 19th century, by the last of the French kings. His name was Louis Philippe. A lot of what we see today in these gardens that the whole world seems to be in love with, not to mention Parisians, was done in the 19th century, not at the time of Queen Mary de Medici in the 17th. But it doesn't matter. Like many places in Paris, different monarchs and leaders have worked on it, and it truly looks magnificent. Very busy day, like I said. You can see maybe in the distance over there to the right of the Senate, you can see the long line of people trying to get in to visit this building, which is usually closed to the public. Beautiful flowers, they're in the fall colors already. The trees have turned. They're doing a good job with the landscaping always in this park. And I talked to some of the gardeners earlier when I visited the greenhouse, and they said, well, the same thing gardeners have been saying all over Paris and France this year. The growing season started very late, and unfortunately, because of the lockdown, and they're all kind of disappointed they couldn't really do what they wanted to do. But I think every time they've said that, the gardens I've looked at have been really beautiful. So they're just talented people, no matter, not even COVID is going to change that. Another queen here. There are about 20 of them. The trees are beautiful. So this walk will be heavy on Parisian vibes. You're going to see a lot of Parisians enjoying their city on a Saturday afternoon. It's 4 o'clock now, 4 p.m. And I like seeing that actually. The only difference with what it would normally be are face masks that the people are wearing. With the exception of small children and people eating, everybody is wearing a face mask today. Other than that, nothing ever changes, it seems, at the Luxembourg Gardens. You still have the kids' pony rides, the pony rides. Poor little ponies, must be really hot. Long line for the pony rides, long line for everything it seems today. This is a patron-only walk. I did a really quick one earlier this morning on the main Facebook page, but this one's just for you, to thank you for your support, for your continued support. If it weren't for you, all of you wonderful people and my French students, some of you are patrons and French students actually, I would be working another job right now, and I certainly would not have the time to share as much information as I do in social media. So thank you for that. Thank you for allowing me to travel, to show you my Paris and France as I see it. And I hope in return I can bring you some good Parisian vibes and not really make up for the fact you can't be here right now, but at least help a little bit. This is Anne of Brittany. Remember when we went to Brittany together and then to Nantes earlier in the summer? And I talked about Anne of Brittany a lot. She was a very influential French queen. And we are very close here to the beautiful building, le Palais du Luxembourg, a former royal palace where that queen, Mary of Medici, lived for about 2 decades before she went into exile because she didn't get along with her son, Louis XIII. So today you cannot really get close to it because people are visiting it. So the line is right behind that tent over there. And they've closed off the whole area. There's a lot of security. Well, understandably so, since this is the French Senate, which is one of the two bodies in the French legislative power. So I think what I'll do is I'll take you to my favorite side. Everybody has a favorite corner of the Luxembourg Gardens, I think. I like this side, because this side really helps understand why Parisians like this park so much, why this park has always been their favorite park in Paris. Everything okay with the sound and picture quality? If you could confirm, that'd be great. I'm sure you'd let me know if there was an issue. Last peek at this massive building. Thank you for confirming. I guess I'll go down this way. This is one of the Parisian parks where traditionally you're not allowed to step in the grass. Those sections are open, so I might get in trouble for doing this. I like how the little fence is supposed to stop you. That tiny little fence at the end is supposed to stop you. It's a visual fence saying do not get on the grass, which I just did. This fountain is dedicated to painter Delacroix, Eugène Delacroix, who lived in this area. One of the great painters of the 19th century in France in the Romantic movement. I like this part of the park because these are the oldest trees in the park. And they are plane trees, platane, or sycamore trees. You may remember we had a big storm in 1999. France had a big storm then, and a lot of parks like the Bois de Vincennes or this park lost a lot of trees. And so these were saved or spared, and these are now the oldest trees in the Luxembourg Garden. As always, it's hard for me to read comments as I'm walking, but I try to catch a few as I go. This beautiful building is the orangery. Now you know that most chateaus have an orangery, especially in climates like Paris where winters can get cold. So this was a chateau, this was a royal residence, and so it has an orangery. And this building was an orangery at first, and it became a museum, and then it became an orangery again. So this is where, in the winter, they will protect their beautiful collection of trees. You see they have a lot of palm trees and a great collection of citrus trees, and they put them in these big boxes they called caisses, C-A-I-S-S-E. And these caisses, this is a citrus, see this is a bigaradier. They have a great collection, they're well known for that. It came from India originally. And so these caisses will be taken inside in the winter, and they'll be protected that way. So that's why that's what an orangery is for, really. The Tuileries have a famous one where a beautiful museum is located today. You've all been there, the Tuileries Gardens. And look at the size of the entrance. It's quite pretty. I'm going to go step in the shade because it's very muggy today. You can tell the rain's coming, and then maybe I'll be able to see my screen for a change. Oh, I see 16 of you are here. That's awesome. Thank you for joining me live. And your friends will catch up later on the replay. Behind this building on the right is the famous museum, the Musée du Luxembourg, which opens again next week with a brand new exhibit dedicated to photographer Man Ray. And it's going to be Man Ray and fashion. I don't have a ticket. I had booked a ticket to see it in April. On the first day it was supposed to open, but thanks to our friend C19, I did not get to go. Look at this elegant pathway here. This is the Luxembourg garden for you. Very pretty. So one of the reasons Parisians have always loved this park is because this is a park they can actually use not just to walk or read, but also to play. Here you have chess players in this building, clearly dated to the 19th century. And then you have tennis courts a little bit farther up on the left. I don't know if you can see them. You have pony rides for the kids. You have kids play area for kids. And of course you have the pétanque courts, I guess, where people play pétanque. Cool 67 sounds nice. I know it will cool off here, then I'll complain because it's raining. We have rain in the forecast next week. Well, this beautiful summer we've had for months now had to end eventually. This is Paris after all, not California. Yes, you do have the puppet shows as well. So there's a lot of entertainment for the kids, but also a chance for Parisians to use this beautiful historical garden as a real park, as a public garden and a place where they can exercise, for example. You have free lessons, workout sessions. I saw a little booth earlier, a kiosk, where they had signs for yoga classes, and I'm not sure they're really free, but since it's the city of Paris organizing that, I'm pretty sure it's not too expensive. The park and the palace, the former palace, belong to the government, the French government. They belong to the Senate. It's all managed by the French government here. That's right, the little boats on the pond. I showed them to you earlier. If you caught my live stream either on Instagram or on the main Facebook page, I showed these to you. Make sure to check that out. So Parisians come here. This has been part of their lives. This garden has been part of their lives now for centuries. Stop here to get a nice pan of the... Look at how many people are here. It's nice for me to show you this scene because I've shown you so many empty places, right? La Rue Mouffetard at the beginning of the afternoon was really quiet. Yesterday, the Trocadero was pretty quiet as well without tourists. So it's nice for me to, it feels good to be able to show you that Paris is still alive, that there are neighborhoods that are still alive and where people are coming and going about their business. Up, pony. I used to love this as a kid, riding ponies, not here, but looks like I'm going to be facing a lot of ponies if I keep walking here. Might step off, I'll let them go. Yeah, the trees are looking pretty. I think they've suffered from the heat. It's been so hot. I almost got attacked by a pigeon just a second ago. A quick peek here at one of the statues of liberty we have in Paris. This is one of them. Mr. Bartholdi originally donated the original, it was the original cast of the Statue of Liberty. He gave it to the city of Paris and they set it up in this park at the beginning of the 20th century, but eventually it was taken to another location, and this is a copy of the original cast. Orsay, Les Arts et Métiers, you know where to find all these statues. We have quite a few Miss Liberty in Paris. Here's a merry-go-round in the distance. It wouldn't be a Parisian park without a merry-go-round. And this whole section on the right is more or less dedicated to kids and pigeons. Oops. I'm going to try not to do a cartwheel with my camera like I did yesterday by the Eiffel Tower, not on purpose. That was fun to watch. I watched it afterwards. It was funny to see the camera go around. We are getting closer to one of the areas where people play pétanque. You know, that game that originated in southern France, or in southern Europe, I should say. But it's quite popular in Paris in quite a few locations. And this is one of them. There was a big crowd here earlier, and I can see it's still here. Yeah, Paris always continues. Paris has gone through a lot over the centuries. Paris somehow always continues. It's funny, they have little hangers over there at the end of that court. You can see hangers where they can hang their jackets. And I like that little kiosk. To me it says 19th century Paris in that dark green color. Beautiful trees everywhere you look. Yes, Elizabeth, I'm headed there. That's what I like to show here at the Luxembourg Gardens, because a lot of people tend to stand by the palace and where the gardens are and the pond and the boats. And some people don't actually come all the way out here. So when it's crowded at the Luxembourg Gardens, you can come here and there will be fewer people, typically. This building upon us over there is called the Pavillon d'Aviou. This whole section of the park is dedicated to educating, I'm going to make it, dedicated to education and educating visitors about gardening, about nature as well. You see a presentation going on. We're going to walk past it. It's a beautiful building, isn't it? Here on the left, you have a beehive, the very famous Luxembourg Garden beehive. It's been in a couple of different locations in the past, and it's smaller than it used to be. But these bees are very busy working. This morning at 9:30, I missed it, but they were selling the honey made by these bees. I can see them in the air buzzing around. I don't know if you can. So we have we call it le rucher, R-U-C-H-E-R. So this is le rucher, the beehive. So they teach people here about bees, about making honey. So this is the part of the park where they really try to teach. And all of that appeared in the 19th century. Though all they did was really adapt something that had been there since the Middle Ages. I'll mention it later. Here is le pavillon d'Aviou. Actually, there aren't that many people without masks, Bonnie. People are pretty good at wearing masks if you look around. You'll see them taking them down once in a while. The kids don't have them, but most adults are wearing masks. Jardinier, jardinier, J-A-R-D-I-N-I-E-R is the word for gardener. But it's true that COVID seems to be spreading in France and Europe again. I don't think the government is going to decide on another lockdown. They're electing to save the economy, which took a bad hit after 2 months of a very strict lockdown in the spring. Bonjour, Sharon. This building over there is a very famous high school, Musée Montaigne. And we are entering the section Elizabeth was mentioning earlier, which is an orchard, un verger, V-E-R-G-E-R. See on both sides here, you can see trees, more than 1,000 trees in here, and about half of them produce fruit, in particular apples and pears. When I visited the greenhouse this morning, as part of a visit for Heritage Days, I took loads of pictures, don't worry, I'll share them later. I could not believe my eyes about the number, the varieties of apples and pears and the names and the dates when they were created. That was fascinating. You see how they grow them? This technique is known as espalier, E-S-P-A-L-I-E-R, espalier. So this verger, this orchard, has been here for a really, really long time. The senators, I'm sure, who work here in the beautiful palace, enjoy some of that fruit. The rest is probably sold for charity. That's usually what they do. Here's the second part of it. Hope you can see it pretty well, in spite of the fences. Now, if you look carefully, they've harvested this section, I can tell. Do you see this little container, this little pot, terracotta? This is how they grow the pears and the apples to protect them from birds. So whenever you see one left, it means there's a fruit growing inside. The other ones have already been harvested. It's a technique they use. And then you can see on these plants, I see pears right in the background here, and they're wrapped up in what seems to be paper, white paper. So each fruit is wrapped up and protected, and they are beautiful. You should see the quality. I saw them up close this morning. I could not believe how beautiful that produce was. So who would know that there is an orchard, an actual orchard in the Jardin du Luxembourg? Again, they use this to educate people about gardening techniques. They have some excellent gardeners, as you might guess. And so they try to improve the different varieties of fruit, apples and pears, and create new ones. They also have a beautiful orchid section in the greenhouses. I visited the orchid greenhouse. I could not believe I'd never seen that many orchids. Of course, we're not allowed to go in there. It's a shame. I could have shown it to you. So here's the orchard. And here you have a nice view of Parisians enjoying their park a little bit on the side. You see, away from the commotion, this section is a lot quieter than what we saw by the Palais du Luxembourg and the water, the little boats. People often sit in pairs, but you also see a lot of people by themselves, reading, writing, who knows what. Oh yeah, that would be a nice job to be a gardener there, wouldn't it? They were so friendly too. The people who greeted us at the greenhouses were just the friendliest. I was impressed. Answering all sorts of questions, showing us around. They were lovely people. Now there are a lot of statues in this park, and if you went around the park and looked at each statue, you could learn a lot about French history, the arts, and so forth. What's interesting is that most of these statues, with the exception of those 20 queens I showed you earlier, all these statues are male. And you can probably count on the fingers of one hand, the number of female statues in this park. Some things never change, eh? There is one actually coming up on the right-hand side. She looks a little stern, but when I was a kid, I knew her because she wrote a series of books that all little French girls used to read. The adventures of a little girl, a mischievous little girl named Sophie. And it was called Les Malheurs de Sophie. And her pen name was La Comtesse de Ségur. And there she is. She died in 1874. So she was very popular in the 19th century. She's one of the few women in here, actually. More Parisians enjoying life. So when Mary de Medici had her palace built here in the Luxembourg, what became the Luxembourg Palace and Gardens, there used to be a convent here, a massive convent that had started in the 13th century. Remember King Louis IX, who became known as King Saint Louis, the man who built the Sainte-Chapelle? He was very pious and he loved being surrounded with religious people. So in the 13th century, he donated a really large piece of land that would have sat right about where we are today to a religious order known as les Chartreux. And that religious order grew and grew and grew. There were great gardeners, like a lot of monks are known to be. They're the ones who started an orchard. They're the ones who started growing all these plants and flowers. And they thrived until about the revolution, as always. And the convent disappeared at the revolution. And but a lot of what you see now was inspired by what they did. A lot of the pears this morning, I was looking at all the varieties of pears they were offering in the greenhouses. There was a whole series named Les Chartreux after that convent and that religious community that was here. So Mary de Medici, when she built the chateau, had to negotiate with them to get some of their land. And her place at that time, the estate, the royal estate, was about half the size of what it is now. So this is a lot larger than it was at the time. More children playing. You can see tennis courts on the right again. So this is really what I call a livable, usable park. It's not just a postcard perfect park. It's just a park where Parisians come and play and relax and dream. Even today, even when a virus is going around, some things don't change. Bonjour, Jen. Bonjour if you've just joined us. I started this walk a little early because there's rain in the forecast or thunderstorms and I didn't want to get rained out, so I thought it'd be best to start a little earlier so you can at least watch the replay. I know it's early for some of you on the West Coast and other parts of the world probably. The Théâtre du Luxembourg, you know, you have those puppet shows in here. You have them in a lot of Parisian parks. can't believe 25 of you are here when I gave you such late notice. That's pretty good. All right, I think I'll wrap up with one last view of the former palace of Marie de Medici. She's the one who created this place, really. Well, with the Chartres order. So I think it's fitting that we should wrap up there. Hope you've enjoyed the walks this week, the public walks I did on the left bank and yesterday at the Trocadero. And this one now. I have quite a few photos to share from my experiences at that photo exhibit yesterday at the Trocadero and today at the greenhouses of this garden. So you can look forward to some posts whenever I get to it. I will get to those pretty flowers ahead of me and look around, turn around so you can see the palace, le palais du Luxembourg. I know it's strange. You're all starting your day more or less, and mine will start winding down soon. So I hope to see some of you tomorrow on Zoom, 6 p.m. Paris time. We're going to be talking about solo travel. The link is in a Patreon email. If you can't find it, just email me and I'll send it to you. I hope some of you can make it. It'll be a fun conversation, an interesting one, I would think. Even if you're not a solo traveler, you never know when you might be one. So one last peek at our beautiful, this is really the popular part of the gardens. So look at all the people here and picture this with a lot of tourists on top of it, and that gives you an idea of the crowds here. That's just nuts, because today is really busy, isn't it? I had a really nice lunch. I'll share pictures in a restaurant that sits, let's see, it's over there, across from us. First time I've had lunch there. It was lovely. I sat outside, and here is the Senate now, but before, the former palace of Queen Mary of Medici, who had gotten fed up with living in the Louvre, damp and dark. And she just recreated the palace she had grown up in Florence. Noon Eastern, Danielle, are you asking about, let's see, tomorrow the Zoom, so 6, if it's 6 here, it'll be 9 a.m. on the West Coast, so it'll be noon on the East Coast indeed. If nobody's changed time in the you know, because I don't know when they're going to switch the time in Paris, but they haven't yet. So I'll let you figure this out. Thanks, Elizabeth. I wasn't sure. Voilà, mes amis. I'm going to say a quick hello. If I can switch the camera, there it is. Coucou. Just a little hello. Apparently, I don't show my face enough. So voila, there I am. I'll take chances and do this too. Ta-da! No cup in sight. I don't want to be fined 135 euros. The one time I take it off for 3 seconds, that would be sad. Anyway, I know you've enjoyed this walk probably because a lot of people, you know, enjoy being here. It's such a pretty place, isn't it? Here, I'll turn around so you can see some of it behind me. Like that. Not bad. Not bad, not bad. Okay, mes amis. Thank you for being here with me today. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I might see some of you on Sunday. À bientôt.